Now, ever since Bob Iger took over Bob Chapek and is really leading the Star Wars franchise and even the Marvel Universe in a different path, we have, of course, Bob Iger now focusing on movies again rather than just strictly Star Wars TV shows. It's exactly why he wants to eventually build up to releasing roughly 2 Star Wars movies a year, one of which being a trilogy-oriented movie and the other of which being a one-off film. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about Bob Iger that a lot of fans have had a lot of criticism about is what he did with the sequel trilogy movies way back when. You know, we all know that Bob Iger is the one that allowed Kathleen Kennedy to do exactly what she wanted to do with the sequels, there's no doubt about that. But now, since Disney is really in panic mode, seeing what happened with Marvel Phase 4, and how they're trying to improve with Marvel Phase 5, and the same exact thing goes as follows with this new phase of Star Wars where things are going to really look brighter for 2023, 24, and beyond. Because everything is now being handled by Jon and Dave for the most part, except for Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, even though they are, yes, helping out with those shows to a degree. Kathleen Kennedy pretty much still has full control over those shows. Now, that brings us to George Lucas and Jon Favreau, and new Star Wars movies on the horizon, and specifically a new trilogy that they are actually working on as co-writers, and exactly what's going on with all of this. So, we already know that Bob Iger has a game plan right now to focus on movies again, which is great and all. Some fans may disagree about that. Some fans have grown to like only the Star Wars shows, and that's okay. However, with many new Star Wars projects in the works under Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, they are also developing new Star Wars films as co-writers that will consist of Mandalorian movies and other films like The Old Republic as well. However, it's noted that Jon Favreau has been assigned to work on the upcoming Old Republic Star Wars trilogy that is set to begin development by the end of next year, that Favreau is set to use many of George Lucas's approved ideas. Now, George is also set to step on board as a co-writer for the Old Republic movies in order to satisfy fans. The new trilogy is set to focus on the origin story of Darth Revan, the rise of Darth Malgus, and also a story of the introduction of Empress Valen and Darth Vitiate in just the first film. Each movie is set to explore 3 different storylines and periods in time that will eventually cross over each other by the 3rd movie arrives. Disney CEO Bob Iger is very dedicated to making this trilogy happen with Favreau and Lucas now involved as, of course, co-writers, with Dave Filoni also contributing as a co-writer on the side. Now, the Old Republic movies, I don't know if you guys knew this, but this has been a long time coming. This has been a thing that's been worked on and off for a very long time. Kathleen Kennedy even admitted that they talk about this every single day. She herself even had her own version of the OR trilogy, and that fell apart because she was going to actually gender swap many of the characters, renaming some of the characters, or even kind of creating knockoffs of some of the fan favorites like Darth Revan. It wasn't going to be good, and of course, Jon and Dave, along with Chapek at the time, shot that project down, and now they're building basically the true Old Republic trilogy. That's going to be very accurate, almost near accurate, to what you see in the video games, to the video game cutscenes, to the books, and stuff like that. It's going to heavily mimic all of that, and they really want to satisfy hardcore fans this time. So, the thing about the Old Republic, in case you guys did not know, Darth Revan really is the center of the entire era. I mean, he's really just known for the Old Republic and everything to do with the legacy of Knights of the Old Republic, etc. There's a lot of connections that surround different points in time in the Old Republic era. Now, the fact that they're also going to focus on Malgus and, of course, Darth Vitiate and Empress Valen, all of these great sinister characters that are all Sith, by the way, is the fact that each movie, the format is that it's going to focus on 3 different timelines, or 3 different characters even. three different, stories, so to speak. And the best way that I could really kind of, relate it to is that there's a show on HBO called The White Lotus. And in that show, it focuses on three different groups, or a couple of different groups of characters here and there. That's kind of like what they're doing with the Old Republic. There's also a movie out there called Crash from over 10 years ago that focuses on different characters and different storylines and how they collide. That's what they're going to be doing with the OR trilogy. It's a very interesting format. Now, on top of this, the Old Republic movies are also being locked at, of course, in order to actually make it a very dedicated piece of work. They want to lock that in. However, they're also looking at, of course, Disney higher-ups to be mainly written by director Matt Reeves. Higher-ups want Matt Reeves, who created the Batman in 2022, as the main writer. Stories such as the origin of the Jedi Order and new revelations about the Sith are also set to be explored in these new movies by Favreau and Lucas, with the potential of Matt Reeves serving as the main writer. Jon and George are dedicated to telling the tale of Darth Revan as the main storyline, as they realize that this character is the more known one from Legends of the OR era. Now, I want to really kind of elaborate on something here, alright? Is that it's not just going to be all about the OR in nature. It's also going to be about, it moving throughout different years of the OR. There's also different timelines, right? Like the Knights of the Old Republic, Knights of the Eternal Throne, all of these great iterations of the Old Republic are really going to become a part of this new trilogy. The fact that George is getting involved as a co-writer and working on movies again, it really is quite something, and it is going to be announced later next year, right around D23, so keep your eyes open for that. They really want to make sure that Star Wars movies are going to be big and blockbuster-esque. And you know what? I think that's what they have to be. They can't be these small-scale movies or these little tiny one-off movies only. That's good for a side thing. But to really make Star Wars thrive in the theaters, you need these big, very expansive, blockbuster-worthy titles. Kind of like what Avatar was back in 2009, and even to a degree, The Way of Water is pretty much doing well, as also. It's not as well received, but it's doing very well at the box office. So overall, I would like to hear what each and every one of you guys have to say about this, because the OR is a very intense era. Mind you, it's the most violent era in Star Wars, at least from what we have seen, in motion, either in the form of a cutscene or something like that from the cinematics of the OR games. There's just a lot of things coming out of this. So, Jon and Dave want to make sure, as well as Lucas, that these movies are really going to heavily mimic what you already see in the cinematics. Now, you guys can go ahead and check out those cinematics. Go ahead and look up the Old Republic cinematic scenes. I think that you guys are going to be pulled in immediately. So overall, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night